Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and I am the second battler in the world to reach expert rank in the Might and Mastery season of Go Battle League. Now I do want to give a shout out to Neymon Kichi, who was the first battler to hit expert in this season. Now, I primarily climbed in the Open Master League with a team built around Terrakion, with a lot of the meta centered around the Kirums, Rhyperior, Dialga, and Duskmane Necrozma. Terrakion ended up being a really nice anti-meta Pokemon as it could deal with all of the above. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping into the first match, leading Florges into Rhyperior. Now this, even with Trailblaze, is not a particularly comfortable matchup for Florges. But even if Florges can't necessarily win this matchup, the goal more so is, if possible, we would love to soft lose it and try and get farm on Kyurem Black. So Rhyperior has farmed up easily enough for the Rock Wrecker. I do decide to respect it, and I get that call right. Even with no shield in the Trailblaze here, I'm still not really in a position where I can go for a Fairy Wind farm down. After my opponent gives a shield back, now I'm very comfortable just to let the Florges go and go for farm on Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black absolutely loves an energy advantage, and we're gonna get just that, a 5 Shadow Claw head start. Out comes Meloetta, and Meloetta will instantly be answered with a Free Shock. Free Shock will inflict massive damage. Meloetta now into the red health. Meloetta has farmed up to a potential Dazzling Gleam. I decide to respect it. They are going to full send that move. I'm farming up, and I'm firing off the Fusion Bolt. Psyshock, not going to be enough to knock out here, so if the opponent wants to KO, they're going to have to go for the Dazzling Gleam. So, with no shields remaining, Dazzling Gleam will hit for massive damage. I should be able to double kick them down. In the back is Melmetal, and I'm in a very good position with Terrakion. Part of why I was intrigued with Terrakion is the fact that it is a fighter with incredibly good pacing, and a lot of the best cores with Kyurem involve Pokemon that are also weak to fighting. So here Terrakion tanks the superpower, we're gonna win the CMP tie, Sacred Sword picks up the knockout, all that's left is a Meloetta that's never getting to a Psyshock, and the opponent will resign the match. Picking up a pretty solid lead in the next match, Florges into Dialga. This is the OG Dialga, so it is going to have a little bit different stats to the origin form. But I'm more than happy to stay in here and play this out. Moonblast is going to connect, doing some pretty solid damage. I can survive an Iron Head, but I do decide to shield because if they're staying in, I think Florges will have value. Opponent going to bring in their own Florges. I'm building up to the Moonblast, and I'm going for a bait here. This is a risky bait, but it pays off as I get the shield. That is incredibly helpful. I can survive a Moonblast here, so I am going to no shield. Moonblast does rock the Florges, and now I'm going for a boosted Moonblast of my own. My opponent is going to commit the shield. They are preserving this Florges, and that's going to make life quite uncomfortable. My backline, not a particularly big fan of Florges. I shield the Trailblaze, get the Moonblast. There's the catch onto Dialga. I'm only going to hit a few bubbles. Going for an undercharge here and a farm with Kyurem. And Kyurem now gets a 5 Shadow Claw head start. In comes Florges. It's a CMP tie, so our undercharge was literally perfect. We get the energy we need. Free Shock KOs. In the back, my opponent is going to have their own Kyurem. Here, I try and go for the Free Shock. I accidentally over-farm here, and I play to a 50-50 coin flip CMP that I do not win. That was just a purely accidental overtap. That's my fault. I don't think that's a game issue. I just didn't tap the move quite in time. But we still have Terrakion, and Terrakion's in a great spot here. Opponent, this is only going to be a Fusion Bolt. It's not enough for a Free Shock. We take a Fusion Bolt, no problem. Double kick down, and we move to 2-0 in the set. We move to the next match. Florges once again greeted with Dialga, but this time it is going to be Dialga Origin. Florges will always win the Zero Shield versus Dialga because the Dragon Breaths just don't add up enough where one Iron Head will be able to knock out. I go for the Moonblast, and getting a random chance attack drop makes my life a whole lot easier. Whether to shield or not is always going to be a judgment call, but since they got debuffed, that decision's made for me. I'm always going to be no-shielding now. I get to fire off the Moonblast, pick up the KO, and when they bring in Ho-Oh, I'm pivoting out into Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black farming up a ton of energy, building up to the Free Shock, and firing off the super effective Fusion Bolt. Fusion Bolt is going to be shielded. Ho-Oh farming to 100 energy, and they will be connected with a Sacred Fire unless I commit the shield. I do commit the shield, I do get my attack drop, which means I'm now not going to be hitting for as much damage. Fusion Bolt gets shielded, my opponent is going to send in Palkia. I'm not going to get to the Free Shock, I'm forced to settle for a Fusion Bolt. There's some solid chip damage, a switch into the Florges they cannot farm down, and that's going to force their energy. Forcing the energy here is incredibly important because now I can just send in Terrakion. Terrakion able to outpace, getting to the Sacred Sword. This should just knock out the Palkia, and then all they have left is the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is going to be able to hit for neutral damage with a Brave Bird, but I still have the shield to hide behind. They go for the Sacred Fire, fishing for the debuff. They get the debuff. Rock Slide's a pretty bad move, but they've taken too much damage throughout the course of the game, so their Rock Slide is still going to pick up the knockout. Moving to Game 4 of the set, Florges into Landorus. Even with Trailblaze, this is not a good matchup for Florges, but the goal here is typically to try and soft lose this matchup to set up farm for Kyurem Black. So my opponent will of course strike first with the Sandsear Storm, and I will return fire with the Moonblast. Even a -1, Moonblast will leave its mark. I believe Landorus does have to go for a Sandsear into a Stone Edge, so I will often no shield here to force them into making the correct play. And my opponent, we are at pretty high elo, so they know exactly what they're doing. I send in Kyurem, they pivot into Dialga, and now it's time. Unleash Terrakion. Terrakion has such a dominant matchup here. These double kicks add up massively, and my goal is not to throw instantly. I'm farming up to 8 double kicks, going for a Sacred Sword, because I just want to try and leave with as much energy as I possibly can. Because now the Landorus, before they even get a move, they're going to have to double shield because I have back-to-back Sacred Swords. Sacred Sword, they're going to no shield in the back. It's going to be a Kyurem Black, and I'm in a great spot to close out this game. Terrakion just has so much play into so many teams. Here I do throw an alignment. Intentionally so, because I just need to apply this damage as soon as possible. If they no shield, then I should just be able to fully farm them down, and if they end up shielding, then they just get free shocked. So they no shield, they're going to make a move on very low health, but the good news for me with my Terrakion is I am not in a range where one Shadow Claw will knock out, whereas they're in a range where one double kick will pick up the KO. So I can survive the Shadow Claw, I don't get one turn Brigand, which is incredible, and we're 4-0 in the set, and what a lead as we're looking to go 5-0. Florges into Annihilate, there's the save switch into Kyurem White. Kyurem White gonna be answered with Terrakion. Terrakion, this is only enough for a Fusion Flare, so my opponent, now that they've landed the Fusion Flare, can potentially double shield and take switch, but that would be very okay by me. I'm going to fire off the Sacred Sword. That's going to land. I do get a very nice farm down, and I exit with a Rock Slide. Unfortunately, my opponent does get the one-turn Bring in there, so their fast move is denied. So I'm just going to stop tapping and let them knock me out. Back in comes the Florges, and they're staying. They are not switching out. So whatever they have in back must not be a particular fan of the Florges. They're going to go for the Rage Fist, and here I'm going to make a pretty massive error. This is a horrible bait by me. I should always full send to guarantee the knockout. My opponent calls it because that's their way back in the game if they're weak to Florges. I'm now going for Trailblaze number 2. That's going to knock out Annihilate. In the back is Rhyperior, and it looks like I'm healthy enough that I can make it to double Trailblaze, and that should put me in a pretty okay spot. The Rhyperior is going to exit with a ton of energy. Here, I'm just going to throw right when I get it, but I can send in the Kyurem Black. They do have a lot of energy here. I'm a bit worried about a potential double bait, so I'm just going to no shield it. If they Rock Wrecker, they win on the spot, but they Breaking Swipe bait to try and fish for debuffs, which by no shielding that just wins me the game instantly. They're going to go for more Breaking Swipes and get more debuffs, and I will use my final shield. Let's see if we can get even one final debuff for the road. Yes, we can. So now we're very heavily debuffed on this Kyurem Black, but Free Shock does not care, knocking out Rhyperior, and that secures us the 5-0 set, which takes us to 2696 elo. Now we're going to move into set number 2, Florges versus Zacian. This is not a particularly comfortable lead. Florges will typically lose the zeros, but the goal as Florges will typically be to try and soft lose this matchup to set up farm for Kyurem. Trailblaze is going to do basically nothing there. My opponent throws early, and I'm always going to no shield. Once they've debuffed themselves, then my Trailblaze will do quite a bit. I do make the Moonblast when they make their second move, but I'd have to go down a shield, so I'd much rather just land the Trailblaze, lose the zeros, and set up farm for Kyurem Black. Even if my opponent does pivot out, that's pretty okay by me. I send in the Kyurem. They do not pivot out, and they're going to bring out Palkia. This is going to be an uncomfortable game. I farm up to the Freeze Shock, bait with the Fusion Bolt, because with my energy head start, I'm guaranteed to make a second Fusion Bolt. Maybe I can even make a Freeze Shock. Opponent is forced to throw. If they Aqua Tail, I think I hang on and make the Fusion Bolt. They Spatial Rend to deny that, and now it's Terrakion versus the world. I haven't yet seen a Kyurem on their team, so I'm playing to the win con that it's Kyurem White. If it's Kyurem White, then I can win this game by exiting with 5 double kicks of energy residual. Now 5 seems very specific, but if they have Kyurem White in the back, it guarantees me the win. Sacred Sword is going to land in the back. It's Kyurem White, and this is why we needed 5 residual. Look at this. I throw 1 in the move. They're now on 2. I can throw 3. They're going to now be on 7 Ice Fangs of energy, but they need 8 for the Fusion Flare, so we just completely take over the end game with Terrakion, KOing Kyurem White, and that's going to secure a Game 1 win. We've actually got a mirror in the next match, Florges versus Florges. I'm running Best Buddy on my Florges because I just don't have Best Buddy on any of the other Mons. And it is going to be a CMP tie, so I will get to spam out a Moonblast. Moonblast going to inflict some very nice damage onto my opponent. I'm very okay no-shielding as well, and I no-shield a Trailblaze. That is quite nice. I'm farming up a lot with the Florges. They've farmed up to a boosted Moonblast, and I am going to respect it with a shield, and I get baited. Oh no, that is not a great feeling. Here, I am going to full send. I think a Trailblaze barely would not knock out, so I go for the Moonblast to guarantee the KO, but I am down a shield, which is never a comfortable place to be. They send in Kyurem, and I'm baiting. Kyurem's going to have to respect this, so I will get the shield back. Now my Fairy Winds are boosted, so I will be doing more damage, and this is going to force my opponent to fire off some energy. So Fusion Bolt will come out from the Kyurem Black, pick up the KO, but I have Terrakion. Terrakion is barely going to outpace getting to the Sacred Sword before they're able to get their Freeze Shock. Sacred Sword is going to be shielded. They're firing off energy, and I have a tough call to make here. I know shield, calling the Fusion Bolt. It's the Fusion Bolt. In the back is Palkia, and now I get to send out Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black, I will need to respect a potential Spatial Rend here. Opponent is going to bait with an Aqua Tail. I farm up 3 extra Shadow Claws, and I'm going for the Freeze Shock. Freeze Shock is going to pick up the KO. In comes Kyurem. I'm committing to the Freeze Shock as a Fusion Bolt would not KO. They fire off their energy. Fusion Bolt is going to knock me out, but they did not have enough for their next charge attack. Terrakion Sacred Sword KOs Kyurem, and we're able to clutch another win. Great lead in the next match, leading into Kyurem White. Opponent save switches into Meloetta, and this is actually really bad. This team does not have an answer to Meloetta. So my new goal is I'm going to have to try and play this out, soft lose this, because I do still have answers to Kyurem White in the back. If I can get it aligned onto the Terrakion, I'm going to be in a pretty terrific spot. So I'm going to no-shield again on the Florges. It is going to be another Size Shock. It does not knock out. I get to the Moonblast. That is incredible. And now I'm expecting them to shield it, and when they do, I'm just going to pivot into the Kyurem. Kyurem farming up energy here, looking to get to a Fusion Bolt. I am going to respect the potential Dazzling Gleam. It's going to be a Size Shock bait. I'm just going to CMP tie them, but this is 6. In the moment, I panicked. I thought that maybe there was a 6 cycle, but there's not. I overfarmed a Cap Tie. They catch onto the Kyurem, and I'm making huge misplays. That second move could have only been a Size Shock. They were 1 short of a Dazzling Gleam. So I'm just now making a ton of errors in this game. Back-to-back errors, letting them catch, and on top of that, shielding a move I didn't have to shield. And this Kyurem White is now going to be firing off a Fusion Flare. That's going to pick up the KO. In comes Terrakion. Terrakion gonna overfarm as much as I can, firing off the Sacred Sword before they're able to get to their Ice Burn. Sacred Sword will easily pick up the knockout, and now they're gonna have Rhyperior in the back, and I think I just don't have the health to win this game. I will fire off the Sacred Sword. Here, my opponent, they just throw instantly. Even if I catch, I just don't think I have the health on Terrakion needed to win this game, but my goodness, that game was so winnable, but unfortunately I just played it terribly. Hopping into the final match, looking for some redemption after the terrible gameplay in the last match. There's a safe switch Dialga, and Terrakion hits the field. Terrakion getting the free double kick as well, as my opponent does accidentally miss time there. I'll shield up the Iron Head. Again, I'm looking to farm up to 8 double kicks. Here, I will go for a slight undercharge, leaving them on 1 or 2 HP, so I can exit with 2 Sacred Swords loaded. Now, this is really important because due to how Palkia's pacing works, this means I'm going to get 3 Sacred Swords before they even get an Aqua Tail. So, we're able to leverage an overfarm into just absolutely destroying this thing with pacing. I'm expecting the third Pokemon to be Necrozma Duskmane, so I'm just going to blind switch into Kyurem. I do, but I was wrong. It's a Shadow Rhyperior, and that's a huge mistake from me. Oh my goodness, that's not good at all. I'm just going to call the bait here because I have to. I no-shield the Breaking Swipe, and now I'm going to go for the Freeze Shock. I should have just brought in Florges, but I was expecting Duskmane, and I didn't want to be behind. Here, I actually get a debuff from Freeze Shock, and that allows me to make one final charge attack. It is a double resistant Fusion Bolt, but all damage is going to be helpful here because now that they're -1, their life gets a lot more complicated. They are actually going to throw an alignment there because if they tried to throw on good timing, that's the more likely time that I would go for the catch. But now that I know this is what they like to do, I'm just going to switch on alignment and catch onto Terrakion. This catch means that even without the debuff, I would have been in a winning position basically, as they're going to resign the match. And here we get to claim our 4-1 set. We only got +19 from a 4-1, but that's because basically every opponent was over 100 elo below us. So the down pairs unfortunately really limit the elo gains when you're right at the very top. All in all, I'm really enjoying this new Kyurem-infested iteration of the Master League. I think there's definitely a learning curve to it, and this particular iteration of the meta is a lot more dependent on energy and shield management than it is on switch advantage, which to me, I actually really prefer. It's a meta where if you completely try and play for switch and give up all your shields, you're just going to get swept by a Kyurem. So it forces battlers to more rely on prioritizing, can I get an energy lead somewhere, can I get a shield advantage, and kind of utilizing those tools to win games rather than just going off of straight alignment. So to me, I think this is a huge improvement over the previous iteration of the Master League, and I've been really enjoying it so far. I really like the fact that the meta is evolving, and I also really like the fact that a lot of the top cores are really weak to fighting. The initial Pokemon that I wanted to look at here was I was putting in PvPoke. I was going through kind of the leads that I had seen for the day, and it was a lot of Rhyperior, a lot of Dialga, a lot of Kyurem, a lot of Necrozma. So I was looking through and I was like, what beats all that? And PvPoke told me that the Pokemon I needed to run was XL Cobalion. Now I have a level 50 Virizion and I have a level 50 Terrakion, but I actually don't have a level 50 Cobalion. So I said, dang it, what else can I run? And that's where I ended up looking at Terrakion. Terrakion does also have Rock Slide, which is not the greatest move ever, but with its attack stat, Rock Slide can still inflict nice damage on something like Ho-Oh, which ended up making it a really nice core pairing with Florges. And on top of that, Terrakion does also still continue to spam out Sacred Swords at that lightning fast pace, which I think is really nice when you have something like Kyurem White, which is so heavily reliant on insane fast move pressure. So one way to defeat insane fast move pressure mons is to have an anti-meta mon that can spam out super effective damage and outpace it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.